I am Matt Damon, ask me anything.
Before we start, be sure to like and subscribe to be the first to know about new videos. Comment your answer below.
Hello, Matt. Are there any skills or trades that you learned while preparing for your early roles that you can still do well today? That's a great question. The thing about acting is oftentimes what happens is you end up being a jack of all trades and a master of none. So I've had to learn things for the Bourne films, for instance, like being upside down underwater in a car, which required me to learn. I went to a swimming pool in Berlin every day after work and practiced being at the bottom with a scuba tank, getting my air taken away, and tying shoes and doing small menial activities without my air in order to be comfortable underwater so I could shoot that scene. I didn't walk away being certified as a scuba diver, which would probably be a better use of my time, but I walked away being able to be in a car underwater and perform the scene I needed to perform, so it's an odd set of skills you end up learning. Though I did for the Bourne movies start boxing, and I never did that before. I was 29 and I fell in love with doing it. I never did it as a sport. I wouldn't put me as a ring against anyone. I'm an excellent movie fighter, probably wouldn't be in a real fight. What's the most challenging role you've ever had? I think the most challenging role that I've ever had was when I did Courage Under Fire and I had to lose all the weight that I lost on my own. That was the most physically challenging did I've ever had to do in my life. I weigh probably 190 pounds right now, and I weighed 139 in that movie, and that is not a natural weight for me and not a happy weight for me even when I was 25. So to do that I had to run about 13 miles a day, which wasn't even the hard part. The hard part was the diet. All I ate was chicken breast. It's not like I had a chef or anything. I just made it up and did what I thought I had to do. I just made it up, and that was incredibly challenging. Hi Matt, what was your first thought when told about your involvement in Team America? Best of luck with the new film. Thank you. I was always kind of bewildered by Team America, I think because it's hard for us to understand what our images are in public. I think we're not good judges of that. And when I saw myself on screen just only able to say my own name and not really that well, I kind of wondered, wow, is that how people perceive me? At that point I just kind of was like, I'm a screenwriter and an actor, and like really? I can barely say my own name? So I was always bewildered by that, and I never talked to Trey and Matt about that. And incidentally, I believe those two are geniuses, and I don't use that word lightly. I think they are absolute geniuses, and what they've done is awesome and I'm a big fan of theirs. But I never quite understood that one. But I will say this. Those of us who were parodied in that video were parodied because we were against the Iraq War, and we went on the record against that war, and so history is on my side, not theirs. Hi Matt, huge fan of your work. My question is, would you ever consider teaming up with Ben Affleck again to write an original screenplay? Good Will Hunting is one of my favorite movies of all time, and that's due to the near-perfect writing. Thank you. Good Will Hunting obviously is the most influential movie in my life, and in Ben's life, and bringing it to the screen kind of dominated our 20s. It took 5 years to get it from the time we started to the time it came out. It took 5 years. So I would love to write another script with Ben. I love Ben, I love his work, he's been my buddy for 35 years. The big issue is time for us. We have a company together, so we work on a lot of projects together, but to try to carve out the time is really tough. I mean, we both have a whole mess of kids now, and these other days jobs. He's directing all the time and I'm off working with these other directors. The thing about Good Will Hunting is that we were unemployed and we weren't writing the script on a deadline either. Nobody was expecting it, so we were just these two idiots in our basement writing this thing, and now we have all of these pressures of the lives grown-ups have. So I would never say never, because I would absolutely love to write with Ben again, and I'd love to collaborate with him on anything. He's brilliant. I'd love to be in one of his movies that he directs. The problem there is that he just keeps giving himself the best roles, so until he stops doing that and maybe just directs, none of us can really work with him. Hi Mr. Damon, what is the best thing a director can do for you on set? I think the best thing a director can do is create an environment, a really open and free environment, and I have to say that I worked with some of the best directors on the planet, and they all do it differently. But the one quality that they all share is that the great ones all create a really highly collaborative environment where it's basically a battlefield of ideas. The ego is completely checked at the door, so they don't show up with "this is the way it's going to go." I mean, director is kind of the wrong word for what they're doing. They don't say "I'm directing you to do this and this is the only way it's going to go." They show up with an idea that is their best idea, and then they're open to everybody else's idea, and then they're willing to instantly jettison their own idea if faced with a better one. So they're essentially the arbiter of taste, but they create an environment where everyone feels free to lob ideas at them, and that's how people start iterating on each other's ideas, and that's collaboration. The best ideas emerges. It's been interesting to me over 20 years to look at these master directors, the people who would be commonly perceived as master directors, and realize their allegiance is to what they're making and not their own ego. Who would win a battle to death, you or Ben Affleck? I think the answer to that is clear, and I'll let you fill in the blanks. The Bourne movies are easily my favorite series of movies ever. Were you reluctant to do a fourth, or was it an easy decision? Also, you're my favorite actor and my mom is in love with you, just so you know. Thank you, and I'm glad I'm your favorite actor. You have my favorite username of anybody I've ever seen. It was an easy decision. Once Paul Greengrass said he wanted to do it, I was in, but we didn't have a story. I mean, it was 9 years in the making because we didn't want to force it if it wasn't there, and so once we realized it was there, we all jumped on board. But before that, it was an agonizing process as we tried to figure out if there even was a story to tell. Are you looking forward to passing $1 trillion spent on saving you in movies? Yeah, so that article was sent to me. I might be the first person for whom $1 trillion movie dollars was spent to rescue, so obviously that will be a milestone, and I am actively looking for projects that could cost people money trying to come get me. Thank you. Hey Matt. Thanks for doing this AMA. I'm a big fan of the films you have starred in, and I was wondering, out of all of your movies, who has been your favorite actor/actress to work alongside? That's a really tough question because I've worked with so many really wonderful people who I admire a lot and become friends with. Choosing one would be really tough, but I have to say, going back in my career, Casey Affleck is one of the best actors that I've ever seen in my life. Growing up with him, he's 5 years younger than me, he's kind of like a little brother to me, but watching his work develop over the years has been really fun. There's a movie that I produced that's coming out called Manchester by the Sea. I'm as proud of it as anything I've ever been a part of. Casey is the lead in that movie, Kenny Lonergan directed it, and Casey is absolutely brilliant in that movie. I'm really proud to see what the world thinks of this movie. It's a beautiful little movie. Welcome back to Reddit, Matt. For years, whenever I hear Jason Bourne, I immediately envision you pimp-slapping a trained, knife-wielding assassin with a magazine. What comes into your head immediately after you hear Jason Bourne? Definitely pimp-slapping a knife-wielding assassin. That's kind of the first thing. You know, it has absolutely no relation to my actual life, but I get to do it when I play Jason Bourne. So you know, I think the people who make these movies with me, and there's, you know, a couple hundred of us, and we've worked on these movies for years. We love this franchise as much as you guys do, so I think your question was funny, but those moments of originality and those fight scenes, I mean, that's kind of what we geek out on, and we try to think of ways to incorporate that fun fighting style where Bourne is finding found objects and defending himself with them, and in many ways he's the opposite of James Bond. Where James Bond always has the right gadget, Jason Bourne never does, so he's got to just improvise. What is the best advice you've been given? I think the best advice I was given, well, I'd say two things. When I was younger, everybody told me not to be an actor, and to this day I say that to people who come up to me and say, I'm thinking of going into acting, what do you think? I say absolutely not, it's a terrible idea, don't do it. Because that's what everybody said to me, and I think that if you're gonna make it in this business that is so full of rejection and hardship, you need to believe in yourself despite what everybody you love and trust tells you. And it's a very personal journey. So that was very helpful. I think, you know, the advice to stay away from this career was really helpful in my own understanding that it was that important that I pursue it. The other advice that I would say, my high school acting teacher Jerry Specca had a huge influence on me and Ben and Casey. 5 words he said: just do your work, kid. And he repeated that so many times to me: just do your work, kid. And that is kind of what I can always retreat to. That's my touchstone. If, when in doubt, just focus on my work. If everything on the movie is going wrong, alright, I'll make sure that my work is tight and go from there. And that's a great place to base from, and that's a good foundation. Hi Matt. What was your favorite show as a kid? My favorite show as a kid was Chips. I loved Eric Estrada, Ponch, and John, you know. I used to get on my bike, and my mother actually sewed blue lines down a pair of chinos that I had so that I could have the tan pants with the blue lines that the California Highway Patrol, and get on my Huffy and ride around the neighborhood. Thanks. Now I have the theme song in my head. Hey Matt. You've been my favorite actor since The Bourne Identity. Can't wait for the new one. How long does it take you to decide yes or no on a role when you read a script? What are the ingredients of your ideal taco? That's a good question and I don't think there's a uniform answer. Now at this point of my career it's usually less about the script and more about who the director is, but in the case of a movie like The Martian I read the script and I thought it was incredible, but I also thought it was really risky because for my portion of the movie it was just going to be me up there, and when Drew Goddard who wrote the script backed out of directing it because he got another job there was no director attached, and so I just walked away from the script. I just said it's too risky, I wouldn't let just anybody do this. And then when Ridley Scott said that he liked it, the decision took me all half a second. So the script is obviously important, but it's more so about the director. The ingredients of my ideal taco, oh my god. Fantastic question. My ideal taco is actually the taco I'm not supposed to have, which is the taco we have on taco night at my house. It's the crunchy corn shell with the good meat, just ground beef in there. It's all about the layering. The meat's gotta be hot, and the cheese goes on first so that it melts. And then you're gonna get in there with a little bit of tomato and lettuce but not too much cause it's not a salad, it's a taco, and then you're gonna throw some avocado on top and some sour cream and then a bunch of Cholula. I don't know if you know what Cholula hot sauce is but it's the best. Throw a bunch of Cholula on there, maybe squeeze some lime on top, and go to town. Is a hot dog a sandwich? Also, hi. I've never considered a hot dog a sandwich because a hot dog is a hot dog. I mean technically it comes between two pieces of bread or one folded into two, so I guess you can classify it as a sandwich. Then what would you call it, a hot dog sandwich? That's like a hat on a hat, so let's just keep it as a hot dog.
You have been visited by Sad Cat. Like this video and subscribe to the channel to make Sad Cat happy again.